I met a Gypsy.
Well, I mean, I think that every single kid should have a trials bike if you want to be good at motocross. Like the skills, the fundamental skills. Like Cody Webb's a good mate of mine, and I remember I don't know if you ever saw the edit. We shot this edit with him a few years ago called Donna Partying with him and Taylor Roberts, and it was like up in Lake Tahoe, and man, I was fucking blown away with what Cody Webb could do on a KTM 300. Like I'd just never really seen a dude do trials on a motocross bike, and he kind of had the same sort of background, like come from trials. And I remember, like, I think my uncle had a trials bike, but we never really rode it because we just thought it was super gay. And,
yeah, well,
like
that's just the rap it gets. Like,
yeah,
and like now being out of it and looking back in, I like super get why it has such a why it's so unappealing for people, which is obviously breaks my heart because I know how valuable it is and how such a and like even just how sick a community it is, and like this has so many positives, but I guess it's difficult to even know how to change that because it's just kind of what it is. I think maybe it's like back in the day, kind of like the 80s, 70s, 80s, it was kind of, well, at least in the UK, I don't know about elsewhere or even new, but it was like, you see pictures from like the World Championship and stuff back then, and it was like the thing to do, like they were riding with like the flat caps on and they had like fags in their mouth, and they'd be like 2,000 people along the side of this stream in the middle of nowhere just watching these guys ride up, and it was like looked like it almost had like
it's hard enduro-y sort of.
Yeah, it like reminisces the scenes you see from a hard enduro race now. But I guess these days you see it now, and it's just such kind of like a world away from from the motor world and stuff like that, and I guess that is why it's kind of so unappealing to a lot of people. But it's a shame it is like that because it does have so many values, and it is so beneficial to a lot of things, or just about anything. I would say you can get some value from riding a trials bike.
Oh man, if I could go back and have my time again, as like I'm 33. Froth riding my dirt bike, but I'm just so shit. Like I can't wheelie, I can't stoppy. Like there's so much stuff that I can't do that's just like fundamental base level stuff that a trials bike just gives you in spades. And I mean, you know, I have kids that want to ride. I'll definitely be getting them a trials bike. And you know, after seeing some of the stuff and like you ride, you know, a lot of this hard enduro stuff, like they're just skills that me as a rider now I could benefit from so much, but it's like that ship has sailed. You know, like you're not bridging that gap. Like it is so fundamental.
Yeah, it is things I think you benefit so much from learning as a kid. Like even if I do a training school, or I see like a guy who rides enduro or even trials, that's in like kind of middle-aged guy that's just getting into it and stuff. It's so hard to pick up then, or even if you get like a motor guy that's only rode motor, Tommy for example, put him on a trials, but he doesn't even entertain it because it is so different and like difficult to learn then. But I think as a kid it does benefit you so much, and that's again like I am pretty grateful and thankful for the path I ended up taking, because I think it just gives us such a good base. At the same time, I do think to go from trials into the motor world, there's a lot of things you kind of need to not forget, but you also need to relearn and stuff like that, which is why I think not too many of the trials guys can really pick up the speed side of things. You get to a certain level, but to go, you know, really fast and be in control on a motorbike, I think there's some things you need to forget. But as just in general, the base it gives you is just massive to kind of go. It's kind of whatever route you like, just as a throttle control, clutch control, weight in the foot pegs, and understanding about the balance of a bike, and even just kind of like the lean angles and how the tires work. Just a lot of the physics, I would say. You just pick up so much, and also reading the terrain and understanding ground and grip levels and stuff like that, because obviously you spend a lot of time walking the sections that you're going to ride, so you kind of study the ground and study stuff like that. I think that's one of the things which not too many people realize, but you get such a benefit from like, I'll come up to a rock section or a riverbed or a hill climb, whatever it might be in a hard enduro race, and like instantly, well, not instantly, but I can process what's coming up pretty fast and kind of make decisions about where there's going to be traction or where there's going to be what to avoid and stuff like that, just pretty fast, just from, you know, like 15 years of walking sections. And
yeah, there's just like a database.
Yeah, I just kind of, you know, like, oh, that tree root looks slippy, or you'll see like, oh, there's water nearby. That's probably going to get slippy in a couple of laps time. And I think you just, yeah, like I say, get such a, like, without even thinking about it, just kind of like the cognitive process happens a lot faster. Whereas I see other guys that obviously don't have that, and you see them get in trouble when it's not because they're not capable of riding over them obstacles, or not, they're not any less capable than what I am, but they just kind of make not as good decisions, I would say. No,
it makes total sense.
And even on a motor track, I would say, like a motocross track, not you do pick up things, and you know you see slick spots, or you kind of have a good understanding of how lines develop, and I think that coupled in with, you know, obviously the enduro side of things and the line choice from like the classic enduro and stuff like that I've done, I think has a good advantage when you come on a motocross track too.
Yeah, and you know what else that I think comes into play as well is just the attitude. Because how many times can you just not get your fucking bike up some rocks and you just want to throw the thing down the hill, and just like to keep your composure? Because we've started doing this. We do this. It's a Transmoto. It's like a teams race. It's sort of like, it's an enduro, but they make it pretty hard, and they're like, always make you go through the shit, always make you go through shitty hills, and a lot of times they're like, as the day goes on, they're just having to cut sections out because like punters just can't get up them. And man, it's just a mental fucking grind. And like, I'm not used to it when you come from, you know, you do your 4-8 lap races or whatever it is on the day, and then you come back in the pits and your dad does all your shit for you, and it's like, it's pretty cushy really. But you know, the trials stuff, and then to transfer that into hard enduro, just to like keep that mental composure and be creative in the heat of the moment, and not just, you know, crack a fucking hissy fit essentially.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably one of the, from like a racing perspective and results wise and stuff, that's probably one of the main things that I had to do changing over. Like I struggled a lot in the early days with just, you know, losing my temper at myself or whatever. Like, so the bike might not have been quite perfect or whatever, but at the end of the day, like, fuck, there's not going to be any bike that's perfect to ride over that many different kinds of terrain or whatever. But I'd be struggling on like the smallest, or I'd make a fuck up on the smallest little shitty thing, which I know I was capable of doing, and it would just, piss us off to the point where I'd just blow my lid, and then that would be it. The lip would be, well, not the lip, not that I would ever be sulking to the point like where I wasn't going to finish, but I'd just, obviously the chance of a good result was gone because I'd spent 5 minutes punching myself in the head rather than just, you know, trying to forget about it. But yeah, like just the fact knowing what, like, whatever shit situation, and you've still got to get to the top of this hill, or in some races, like the real gnarly ones, like you've got to get to the top of this mountain no matter what. Like that's where the track goes. If you don't get to the top, like you ain't getting back to the finish line, so you ain't getting in the van to get back to the hotel. Like it's like camp out here, I'll get to the top of this hill. Like, and it gets to the point, and it's not as bad. I don't know whether it's just maybe it's because I've improved, or they have realized that like for this to be a race, a legitimate like championship or whatever, like them situations,
you just can't like, cook everything.
I understand the hobby guy that just wants to go and push himself to the limit, ride the gnarliest race ever. Like for them to be in that position is it's probably what they want to experience. But like when we're battling at times like 4 guys together up mountain for 5 hours, like to be in like a life or death situation gets pretty severe. So they're kind of toning it down a little bit. Like it's still, don't get us wrong, like there's still times you're on like ledges and cliff edges going, fuck me, like if I slip here, that's not going to end well. But yeah, they're kind of toned it down a little bit. Then in my first couple of years, like there was times when I just genuinely thought like I'm never getting up this hill. Like I've been pushing for like 20 minutes like what am I doing? There's nowhere near. And then again, you just keep going and going, and you try and find another line like a little bit off the track, and eventually like an hour later you've made it to the top of this hill, and you're just like, wow, this is not right.
If you enjoyed this content, please like and subscribe. And to listen to the full 3-hour podcast, search Gypsy Tales in your favorite podcast platform or click the link in the description below. Gypsy Gang.